Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be a really great interviews. I don't know how it works because it's actually not just one person, it's two people. It's the comic vet and Rob Fat Stax, who together form Only Slabs. So I was actually on their show a couple of times, and I figured, hey, they're doing some pretty cool stuff on Only Slabs. If you haven't checked out their channel, you got to go over there, check out Only Slabs. They do some amazing interviews. And I figured, hey, let's get them on to this show and show some cool stuff. So without further ado, let's bring them in and talk about Only Slabs.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming.
Calling our show that we do interviews is a very liberal sense of the word.
I wasn't going to say anything.
It's more like we have people come on and do show and tell. But hey,
yeah, it's very show and tell. I mean, pretty much every comic interview is show and tell. At the end of the day, like nobody really cares about the people that they interview. Just show us the books.
I think there's some semblance of caring, but and we try to squeak a little bit of that in there here and there, but we've never, I think, tried to fake that this was an interview program at any stretch of imagination. It's really, hey, do us a favor. Why don't you come on and make content for us for the next hour and a half?
Exactly.
So, and we'll sit there and go,
thanks for
getting us views with your big books.
Yeah.
But no, it's I'll be honest, it's carved out its own little niche. It's developed its own little fan base, and every week it just seems to be more and more people tuning in live, more and more people checking it out afterwards. And at first, that in the back of my mind, when Rob would mention guests that are coming up in the near future, I'm like, oh, that person is, that person's well known in the community. They'll bring in more people. And that's not the case anymore. It's literally, the show now has its own footing and has its strength. It doesn't matter if it's the most recognizable name in the comic book community or someone that's just new to YouTube and social media, but still has this impressive collection that means the world to them. People are coming on because they know they're going to see fantastic content with these spectacular books and that little bit of comedy that Rob and I try to provide, along with some passionate storytelling from the guest on why they had that book, or more importantly, how they acquired it and why they did.
And actually, each guest does bring, of course, obviously some of their own fan base with them, which is always nice too, because it does slowly expand.
Yeah, actually, it was funny. The last time that you guys interviewed me, I actually had like people that subscribe to my channel going, "Oh, you guys, you're going to be on, Only Slabs." It's like, yeah. They were saying it like as if like they were excited for me. It was like, because it was such a big deal to be on your show. So I thought that was a really good sign.
That's what you need to remind them, though. You've done it twice now.
I've done it twice.
You're a veteran of the show now.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm a regular. So So how did Only Slabs come about? Like, what's the origin story? Were you bitten by a radioactive spider? What?
A radioactive slab, yes. In a lab, we were in a lab. I was bitten by a slab, and with that, we found that we could be hung on a wall. No, the impetus of the show really was, I took a picture. Somebody was asking me something about slabs, because at that point I'd been opening up a lot of slabs. I was doing, at that point, I'd probably done a good half of my slabs were PGX slabs, but I had been doing a lot of slabbing, and I had, back then maybe only 400 slabs or so.
Okay, well, that's still a lot.
Keyword only.
Only 400 slabs.
But somebody asked me something about it, and so I took a picture of the rack that I had that had all the slab boxes on it, and I just posted that, and it was like 13 boxes of slabs or something, and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's quite a bit. That would be a cool, that'd be a fun show. Just go through like one box a week." And I don't remember who made the comment, but I was like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, I could do that. It's at least 3 months worth of content." Right there, just do that.
Easy content.
I said, okay, I can do that. Well, I can't just sit there in front of the camera by myself going, It get boring.
Yeah.
There's a reason why mail call videos and those self-do videos shouldn't really be more than 15 minutes max, right?
Yeah, they get a little bit boring. Yeah.
Right. So no matter how witty you are. And so I was reached out to a buddy of ours, Slotted Up, who's no longer doing YouTube content, but at the time he and I were co-hosting a show called Sidekicks Talk Comics.
Okay.
Which was just a weekly half hour show quickly talking about a topic in comics. And I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Slot, you want to do this show? I've got this idea. I need a co-host, do this, blah, blah." And he's like, "Yeah, he says he's got a lot of things. He had a lot of things that were going on.
And a big family as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so he goes, you know what, though? I bet, he says, Chris, the comic vet, he says, I don't know if you know him, but he would do a phenomenal job. Dude has a huge insight when it comes to comics and everything else, and he'd be great for the show. I was like, sure, give me his information. Because I think Chris and I think I might have been following him on Instagram or something, but we weren't interacting with one another.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to him and said, hey, our Slot suggested that you would be a good co-host for this show I'm doing. I'll let Chris take it from there.
So for me, I was still in my infancy on my YouTube journey. I'd only a few months earlier actually turned the camera from away from me to put myself on camera. I was basically just doing new comic book day live streams outside my comic shop inside my car, just showing books that I'd picked up, books I was excited
That's
about.
Right. I was watching you. I was watching your stuff in your car. That's right.
If I was lucky enough to get a variant or something, I would talk a little bit more about that. And even at that point, it may not have even been a live stream. It was just a recorded video. And then I started doing live streams. And at that point, I'd had 2 YouTubers reach out to me numerous times, inviting me to come on their shows to say, hey, like, we want to talk to you. And again, nerves in the way, not knowing where I was going, just wanting to talk about comic books I was enjoying or comic books that I enjoyed before in the past. I decided to, all right, maybe this is the next step. If I want to care about subscribers, if I want to care about views, maybe I need to get myself out there a little bit. So I went on a live stream for a YouTube channel called Slotted Up 503. And that was the very first time I went on someone else's channel. And he invited me in the middle of the live stream and sent me a link. So I decided to give it a go. And I was on there for a little bit and tried to talk about what I thought I knew. But I left an impression. And Jason and I quickly became friends over social media, and I got to know a little bit about his family and vice versa. And from there, I discovered that he was a part of a show, Sidekicks Talk Comics, and I'd watched a few episodes, and I got to see Rob. So I knew of Rob, and I then had started branching out into developing my own channel and trying to find my own footing and find stuff that would be engaging that could go for more than just one episode. And I realized that the more I put myself out there onto other people's channels, the better chance I had of people finding out about me, as opposed to just, this is what I picked up this week. This is a book that I just picked up from my past that I really enjoyed. And realizing that if you want to be successful in your comic book journey, you have to talk to everybody. And I got this message. I got this message randomly from Rob's Fat Stax, and I'm like, okay, that's the guy with the mustache. I was like, I know that dude. And he's like, hey, I got this idea of wanting to show off some of the slabs I have. I kind of want to do like a box a week, and I got this idea for a show name, and I was just kind of like, okay. And I remember that first show. Like, I don't think I spoke that much as a co-host. I was brought in to provide commentary for some of these incredible books that Rob had.
For me to talk to somebody.
Yeah, for his collection. And after a little bit, we developed this chemistry that still exists today. And it's at the point where I can look at his face, I kind of know what he's thinking. And like, we've had many curveballs thrown at us in our over this journey, like
Mhm.
so many curveballs.
Yeah.
And
Some
we'll get
derailments.
we'll get into that, but the at the core of it all, uh, we became friends, which became family, and to the
Mhm.
point now that we shoot the breeze outside of social media altogether, just to say, hey, what's going on? Like, oh,
Mhm.
this weekend I'm working, or
Yeah.
this is going
Yeah.
on in my life, and he'll talk about his kids and vice versa. And it's
Mhm.
become a wonderful thing, all because of Jason Slotted Up 503
Yeah, he's our
just said,
matchmaker.
hey man, I don't know if I can do it, but I know this Canadian guy
Mhm.
who knows a little bit about comic books that you are into. Maybe it could work.
So
Cool.
yeah, so we went through 13 weeks. We went through 13 boxes, and it
Mhm.
was like, okay, well, what do we do with this? And Chris
Mhm.
goes, well, I got some slabs. So I said, okay. And I thought, I didn't know how many, I didn't know, no idea how much Chris had. And he starts pulling out, he's going, oh, yeah, I can do about like 7 or 8 weeks or so. And I'm
Okay.
all
So
right,
you've learned
yeah,
you got it. It's going a
yeah.
little bit longer
So
now.
he starts, so we extend out, we flipped the switch and start doing Chris's books. And then Chris did some things that like really freaking dropped my, dropped my jaw. And he does like an
Mhm.
episode of nothing but like early sub 50 ASMs or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And another one. Oh yeah, today's box is going to be all nothing but custom art covers.
Original
It's like
Nice.
sketch
artwork.
covers, and it's like, you son of a bitch. And it's like, and it's just, but it was awesome stuff. And so when
Mhm.
it got towards the end of that, we were just kind of like started thinking, this is kind of a cool show. We got people are interested in this. Maybe we can start bringing on guests now.
Yeah.
And so then it slowly began to start reaching out to our immediate circle of friends, right? That
Yeah.
we knew were in stuff. And then from there, it just kind of would slowly grow and grow and grow. And that's where there's a stark difference when people ever go back and look at the shows. There's the original name of the show was Slab Hub,
Mhm.
and there's season one. Season one is just the us only before the
Yeah.
guests. Then season two is Slab Hub with guests.
Mhm.
Then season three is when we were forced. Well, weren't forced, but we were coerced into changing the name
We'll
to
get into
only
that.
Slabs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now we're coming up pretty soon on the end of season three with our
Mhm.
100th episode.
Wow.
And season four will kick off with episode 101, just because it's a round place to start.
Nice. Nice. I mean, that's pretty impressive. 100 episodes. That's.
Yeah. And we've had some great guests, such as yourself,
Yeah.
who've
Mhm.
come on and just blown us away.
Wow. So that's very cool. So can we get into the story behind Slab Hub and what
Yeah,
happened there and only Slab?
absolutely. So uh Slab Hub was the original kind of name that had come to my head on it, and obviously a play on the adult website,
Mhm.
because and hence the sexy slab in action and all this other stuff that we've used,
All that
right?
damn innuendo I can't
Yeah,
handle.
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
That was all come out of that. And then one day, so I got the name got or I got tagged by somebody who was making merchandise
Mhm.
for a company in Texas called Slab Hub. So oddly enough, none of the problems that I had with using the name came from the adult website company. I mean, there was one thing at one point where we made a minor tweak to the logo, and
Mhm.
that went away. But
So you removed all the nudity from the logo and then.
no, no, actually, oddly enough, it used to be. So if you know the logo I'm talking about, there's a square, orange rectangle
Okay.
that says hub in it. And
Mhm.
so what I had to do is instead of being solid, I had to break it so it had an orange outer rim with a little black inner rim, and then the
Okay.
center
I
orange.
Okay.
called it the
Okay.
That
framing aspect. We
yeah,
framed it now. Yeah.
putting that frame like that made it
All
where
right.
they were cool and they left us alone.
Mhm.
Okay.
But there's a company. It's two guys, according to their website, it's two guys with a press,
Mhm.
and they call themselves Slab Hub, and they have a copyright on the name, which gives you some stuff, but not a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Anyways, they were having some merchandise made, and the merch person tagged them that, hey, here's this people using your name,
Yeah, well, you're not
And
really, but sure. Yeah.
right, yeah, there's is parallel creativeness or whatever. My
Yeah.
logo was different. They were using a bright yellow logo with a different font and all this other. There's
Hmm.
a lot of different. Anyways, they claimed
Mhm.
they claimed that I was using their logo, I was using their likeness, I was using all their stuff,
Hmm.
and no, yet nobody knows about them. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And in talking with they started threatening legal action.
Hmm.
And in talking with the guy, I was like, oh, I was playing. At first, I came off playing the poor, woe is me, little YouTuber. I don't know. I'm sorry. Calm the hell down, buddy. And
Hmm.
they tried to come up with some kind of thing like, oh, okay, well, we'll let you continue to use the name, but you have to use this and that, and basically wanting me to basically call
Yeah.
attention to them every single time. And we did a show and some
Free
other stuff.
publicity.
And
Hmm.
what it turned out in listening to them between what they were saying is they were hoping to get ready to start doing a bunch of YouTube content.
Okay.
And because they hadn't been doing anything on YouTube yet.
Hmm.
And when any time you looked for Slab Hub, it was me that came
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they didn't like that. Um, anyway, so I reached out to a couple different lawyers around here that were specialized in copyright law
Hmm.
to try to understand before I pushed back too hard what were my options and realities, and none of them would return my calls. So at the end of the day, even though I'm pretty confident from what research I did as an
Hmm.
armchair Google lawyer,
Yeah.
um, I felt that I could have easily fought it and so go ahead and sue me and watch them lose because
But it would have been a waste of time, money, and
well,
yeah.
it's a lot of different things, right? And at that time, we were we had sort of done some stuff where we had adopted this change and um, with another changes to the logo into the name where it was now Rob Fat Stacks presents
Hmm.
Slab Hub type stuff and or Slab Hub the show we were
Yeah.
calling,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it was like this is dumb. And our buddy Chip,
So yeah.
the White Shadow, yeah,
Hmm.
we're talking with him. I don't know, backstage behind or during some chat or something, and he just kind of goes, "Dude, why don't you just change the name? Why don't you like do something like only Slabs?"
So that
Wow.
so that's where so Rob had been filling me in on everything that he'd been basically threatened with and everything. And I at one point, the fear of the show being retired
Hmm.
was starting to linger a little bit. And I
Hmm.
said, well, we can deal with this really quickly because I'm situated here in Canada. If they're in Texas and you're on the West Coast, if they're threatening lawsuits, well, why don't we just put the show on my channel and go
And
that
then
way
it's Canadian.
and
Yeah.
go that way because I'm in Canada. Good luck trying to sue me now. Good luck trying to
Hmm.
talk about anything like that because you're then going to have international copyright. And judging by the size of their company, I doubt they have international copyright.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But the only adverse thing to that, the website or the company that we poke fun of or that we borrowed from
Hmm.
is situated in Montreal. So, in case everyone is not aware, that Pornhub is in Montreal and its
Yeah.
parent company as well, that these are actually Canadian owned companies.
Hmm.
So, that went back and forth. And then in the end, it was just a minor idea. In the end, it's Rob's baby. Like the
Hmm.
whole idea of the show is Rob's baby.
Hmm.
And like I often make the joke, Rob's on the front of the motorcycle, and I'm holding on the backs in the back of it as Rob's going 500 miles an hour. And I'm just along for the ride. And then just random one time, Rob says, "I need you to click this link, meet me backstage." And I went backstage, and there was Chip, the White Shadow, and Rob, and they'd figured out this new name. And I got brought up to speed basically about an hour after everything went down that instead of moving forward as a show, we're going to rebrand it, same
Hmm.
content,
Yeah.
rebranding, and we're going to move forward as only Slabs with again that tongue in cheek to the adult porn community. Now we're going to be poking fun at OnlyFans,
OnlyFans. Yeah.
which has become a monster in its own right,
Right.
Hmm.
in on the internet. And
Yeah.
we then and thankfully Chip is
Yeah,
Chip is just a
he had things
fantastic
mocked up.
dude.
I think by the time Chris came
Yeah,
on.
but when I showed up, the logo, not this particular logo, but the logo that we're all used to was created, and then Rob and I asked for a couple small tweaks here and there to make it a little bit of our own, as opposed to just flat out mocking one website. And like we put in the little 9.8 in case people haven't noticed. If you look in the O, there's a little 9.8 I suggested
instead of the
and
padlock.
Yep. And then there's some slight color variations that Rob wanted, specifically color tones and stuff. And then with Chip there, Rob and I decided, let's have a little bit of fun with this. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's do a
before you do that though. I mean, there actually was, before I even got to Chris and showing him this stuff, I had actually kind of quasi socialized it. I was having a big family cookout and barbecue with friends and family, and during that event I had started talking to people about it and stuff, and saying, what do you guys think if we were to change the name from this to this? And a lot of, and they were non-comic book folks, not anything else, but a lot of these adults who were sitting there saying, I think Only Slabs would be great. I know what that is.
Actually, I like Only Slabs better personally.
Yeah, they know what it is. They know it doesn't have to be the other thing, but it obviously gets a lot of attention because of it. And what was really great for us as we were going into this, is that OnlyFans had just transitioned their logo to a brand new logo and design their OF logo, which they use today, which nobody really everybody associates the scroll with the padlock, but they haven't used that. That's an old logo. They haven't used it for like 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
So fun. It's like we're able to now make a parody, fair use parody of logo that's not even a current logo, so it really makes it that much easier.
That worked out for you. I mean, I actually didn't make the connection, strangely enough, which is funny.
I can touch on that.
And it's fine.
But yeah, I actually prefer, like, Slab Hub sounds kind of lame, sorry, compared to Only Slabs. Only Slabs sounds really cool, like it, and it really, you get the whole idea. It's
of
when
what
you
the show,
do your show,
right. And
you're only showing slabs. That's
why it actually really is a better name than the original. And so
a lot of people haven't made that connection.
Now
we still see comments now and then. The odd comment will pop up in live shows like, oh, the name is a porn parody. Like, a lot of people don't put because of the fact that the show specifically, we asked the guests just to show just slabs, that the term Only Slabs is now representative of what the guests do. But yes, a lot of people now fail to make the connection, because Rob and I do a lot of innuendo on the show.
The logo's got Cindy Moon and Spider-Man making out, and it says sexy slab and comic book action.
But when we decided that we weren't going to retire the show, but it was really never an idea of retiring the show. It was just the fear. It was just the fear that, what do we do? Because the last thing you want is somehow just be brought into court. Can you imagine? Just think about that. For everyone that's watching that, just think about that for a second. Our little show being hauled into court anyway.
At the time, 600 subscribers or something.
Right. Now, the thing is, Rob and I had just become nominated for, I believe we were nominated twice for the Comic Book Community Awards when it comes to Slab Hub and now Only Slabs. And I was like, my God, people are not going to vote for us because we don't exist or whatever. And so what Rob and I decided to do on a non-Saturday, because as you know, we go live every Saturday afternoon, and to talk about what's happening with the show. And that live stream garnered a lot of people in the audience. And I decided, with Rob's permission, to make it seem like I was heartbroken, upset, angry, because we were getting screwed over, and we were kind of getting screwed over, that it's all going to have to, that Slab Hub is coming to an end. And that's how we present it. The show is now coming to an end. And there was a lot of bewilderment in the comments that were left for that, a lot of anger. There was a lot of like fight the power kind of thing. Like, don't let this happen. And in the third, I should say the third act of this live
Phoenix
stream.
rose from the fire.
Up we come, and we said, well, just let everyone know we're rebranding. The show will go on, and we're now going to go only Slabs. And there was a lot of laughter and positive comments, and good for you guys. And thankfully, the CBC Awards put that little
Yeah, what had said
change.
yeah, they allowed us in the voting to go
to be recognized as both
only
shows.
Slabs parentheses formerly Slab Hub.
Yeah,
because we had been nominated and got onto the ballot as Slab Hub, and it was like,
right.
Yeah.
But
So,
like,
so that part was cool, and the transition was a smooth one. We went just essentially the show only. Slab Hub did get retired, but from that, it, like Rob says, the new season kicked
The
off.
Phoenix has risen. Yeah.
The Phoenix rose, and we had in that first episode under the Only Slabs banner was one of the best ones we've ever done. And not, I'm not saying that because I'm a part of the show, or that, hey, just because it was episode 1 of season 3, it was so good. It's not true. We had this British fellow, Ilson, come over, and it was just tremendous. Not only with every major key, like he brought the fire. Not only with every major key, there were stories with it. And he's talking about family and talking about how he acquired this book, and that there was a raffle, and where the book that he wanted, there was a raffle of 10 slots. So he went ahead and just bought all 10 slots. And and the guy who was running the raffle said, well, I still have to like run the raffle. And then Ilsud said, well, guys, I got to be honest. I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to win, but he hit every single slot on this raffle to win.
Oh man, I've rewatched that episode so many times. It's such a fun episode.
And it was like everything was clicking. Rob and I, our chemistry was on point. It was terrific. Ilson had a lot of fun. There was laughter. There was jokes. There was a perfect amount of that innuendo that we bring every week to our shows. And but most importantly, it was banger after banger after banger after banger. And everyone, especially when you live outside the United States, can realize or can recognize sometimes it's difficult getting books to cross borders, and in this case to cross the Atlantic Ocean. And he talked about that, and it was that perfect show where every book had a story, and those are the ones that I enjoy. It's not just here. With every book there is a story, and those are the ones that click with me. Or at least when someone shows a banger or something that's important to them, they always talk about it, to the point where Rob and I don't even have to open our mouths. They're just telling this wonderful story. And that's why Ilsun's episode episode number 1 of season 3 was just so damn special. But that's not to say everyone else is diminished in value compared to that. What I'm saying was, when the fact that we rebranded, we came out with such a good show, show, that it propelled us into something different. That show, that us rebranding, helped drag both Rob and myself over the 1,000 subscriber mark. Because when that actually happened, Rob and I were teetering between 800 and 900, and all of a sudden now we started getting this big push where now the show being rebranded, the show being nominated a couple times for awards, and that now we were booking not just a month in advance, 3 months in advance, and that we had such large recognizable names in the comic book community. And then finally, the one question I said to Rob when we decided to do guests, I said, Rob, do you think the day will ever come where we see Action Comics #1 on our show? I said, Rob, it's not going to happen. Like there's only a handful of these books in existence. We'll never see Action 1. And Rob's like, you never know. And sure enough, Rob.
Nerdy Girl came on.
I saw that interview.
She dropped the Action Comics 1, and what was funny is, I made that one into a short, and at first it got flagged for profanity because Chris had shut the front door, which apparently is profane in Canada, because YouTube.
You don't say that to people.
It took me 3 fights.
I've never heard that one before.
Took 3 fights with YouTube before they cleared it from profanity tag for monetization. But that's great. And I'm now the only real super key. The super key that's out there that we have not had on the show is Deck 27.
Yeah, that would be a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had Detective 28. We've actually had 28.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
And we've had
almost as
26.
good.
Yeah.
So you
We've
gotta
had
get
20
the in between one.
Right.
So
So
we-
now I do know somebody who has one that I'm working on, and we'll see. But we'll it be that would be that's probably the last of the super grails that are out there that we haven't had on the show yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did an interview with Stray Flexing, and he
Mhm.
brought some crazy books. He brought the funnies motion picture one, you know, the first Submariner, and
yes.
and
Wow.
then he brought Captain America #1. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
never thought I would ever see those books, and to see them actually in person was just like so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. We had Captain America one, the first Captain America with
I think
Man
we've
Cave
had a
brought that
couple.
on, and
We've had a couple
Yeah.
yeah.
Cap
That
ones.
funny thing is, it's the same book.
Oh yeah, he's
That
told
was
it
on
moved
my
it.
show.
Nice.
We've
I thought
and
before he did.
above all that, we've had like yourself now. We've had a few people come on for second and third and fourth and fifth appearances,
Mhm.
and those ones turn out to be very special shows as well, because now it's almost they're buying into our chemistry, and they can feel when Rob and I are about to ask a question or get or cut into an answer even before I ask that $1 million question I ask every time. Can you read the right side of the label there if it's a
Yeah,
first
yeah,
appearance? And that's become my niche kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I get poked fun of kind of thing, but it's all in good fun, and it just goes to show
It's harder than you think because other people come
Yeah.
on to fill in for Chris and they never quite get it right.
Yeah.
it just goes to show that the show has built a standard audience, and that whether they catch it live or they catch it on the replay, that that's just these terms of endearment get to carry on, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, just back to some of the books that we've had. Like, we've had Amazing Fantasy 15 a few times now, and we've had ASM 1, and we've had Superman #1 once, and we've had some early
Wow.
Batman stuff, and just so many keys, whether it's superheroes or startling. She even showed up with that startling
Oh geez,
cuts, the
9.6 Startling Comics
yeah,
49.
Yeah, that's
the
a
Bender
beautiful
cover.
book.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
I
oh,
think we've had that twice now on the show,
we
and
have.
Wow.
and it's just so much fun. It's just so much. Every so
Danielle
often,
brought fire, and I love
like something gets shown, and Rob and I are just speechless, and it's just like we didn't expect that to happen. And like the Journey in the Mystery, Journey in the Mystery 89 first Thor, like that's been on. Is it 89? We've had that a few times. We've had the Fantastic
83.
Four,
83.
83. Pardon me. Fantastic Four #1 a couple times, like 3 times now, I believe, and the first
They never
Doctor
get old.
Doom, and they never get old. And now, but we've had, but over these shows, you get to see the books, the books that are repetitive, that mean so much to so many people. And the one that shows up more often than not that I find is Amazing Spider-Man 129. A lot of people love the Punisher, and that
Yeah.
book is out there, and it's graded, and it seems everyone that shows up that shows a lot of Silver Age stuff, and especially when it comes to Spider-Man, usually more often than not, it's there. And it's to the point now, Rob and I make the joke, oh, it's the first appearance of the Jackal. No one
Yeah, of
likes the
course.
Jackal, because the Jackal is the reason why we have the Clone Saga and all those terrible stories.
It's the first appearance of the Jackal goes right up there with our first appearance of Gideon with New Mutants 98.
Right.
Yeah,
Because those are just the jokes that
and
almost everybody goes with at that point.
right.
Yeah.
And so the Deadpool book, like he just mentioned, gets shown a lot because it's now a modern key. And obviously Hulk 181 is one that shows up now and then as well, because everyone has that special place in their heart for Wolverine if they can manage to get their hands on a copy. And but also the other running joke that goes on our show is Secret Wars 8, the
Very
black costume cover, and the jazz hands. But the running joke is, because that book has been, I almost feel like it's got to be at this point 50-50 for Signature Series versus Blue Label, because
Yeah.
so many people get that book signed by Mike Zeck or John Beatty or Jim Shooter
Or
or
all
even
three
Stanley,
of them, because
or
all three of them
Stanley. Yeah,
during the pandemic, the three of
Yeah.
them were going around doing signature tours all over the
right.
place, and it was triple signing for like
Yep.
$80 or something, and it was like all over, and there
Yeah,
was tons of them.
so we make the joke whether like, oh, it's that incredibly rare blue label Secret Wars 8. We haven't
Yeah,
seen that one
you
that
never see
often
that one.
because
Yeah.
people get it signed and like to show it. And of course, there's always that story because again, it's such an important book in the history of Spider-Man and also an important book to the history of Marvel Comics, being like one of the first major crossovers with being Secret Wars. And you get to hear the story of how they got it signed, or sometimes even the rare times that they actually got it signed at different times by, you know, BD, Zach, or Shooter, or Stan Lee if they happen to were fortunate enough to get Stan Lee to sign it. But yeah, it just for the books that are repetitive, they're still fantastic to see because they're such big books. ASM 129 still stops people in their tracks because
Yeah,
hey,
it's a great book.
it's the Punisher, right? And the Punisher is now larger than life. He's one of these characters that's just transcended comic books. And same with Hulk 181. Wolverine is larger than life. And that's again when they talk about how they got it or why they got it. That's why it's just what makes those particular moments on the show so damn special.
Nice. Yeah. So speaking of awesome books, I got a segue. I got to get some books shown here. How about we get you each to show a few books? Who wants to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I'm going to show my
I'll make it
181. My 181. So this is a book.
Batman 181.
What 181? So there's more than just one 181. There's in my opinion, there's three major keys that are 181. So the one that I can remember reading as a teenager was this 181.
Oh, nice. I love that one.
Daredevil 181, The Death of Elektra, which no one saw coming. No, in my opinion, no one saw it coming because this brand new female heroine that was kind of an anti-hero. Is she good? Is she bad? But she is a badass. And Frank Miller turns around and kills her. And just that sends shockwaves through Marvel Comics because my goodness, like they just bring in this fantastic female superhero. Is she a superhero or not? And then she falls at the hands of Bullseye, who actually wasn't that old of a supervillain at the time. And I picked this one up myself from my local comic shop, Retro Rocket Comics, and he gave me a real good price, and I really wanted to get it. But of course, I would be remiss if I didn't show the 181 everyone was expecting. So this is my what I say entry level 181, but it doesn't matter because as a Canadian and as someone that loved Wolverine growing up and daydreamed about being Wolverine, my collection wouldn't be complete without this being one of the crown jewels of my collection. And I've actually only obtained this very rough copy in the last couple of years, but I always said at one point in my life, I will own a Hulk 181, whether it be for a short time or a long time. I've got one and I'm happy to have it. This is just so damn special. I can remember fighting the tears back when I opened up the box, when I finally got my hands on my first full appearance of Wolverine. By the way, that's the other ongoing joke on Only Slabs. But this is just, when I say the babies of my collection, this is one of a handful of the babies that I have. And I have two of the important 181s, and the other is obviously Batman. Is it Batman? Yeah, Batman 181. Yeah,
that's
nice.
First
Poison Ivy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so one sec here. So Rob, do you want to show some books too?
Sure. I'll start. I'll do a couple here that are non-slabs, actually.
Oh no!
But that's only because
what? You're going against the whole show.
It's only because they're staged to go off. They're about to be shipped off for slabbing. And so again, I mentioned earlier that Chris did this beautiful episode of Slab Hub where he busted out all these sketch covers and whatnot, and I was like, "You son of a bitch!" Some of these things were just so beautiful, and I got jealous, and so all of a sudden it became a mission of mine to go and start getting some sketch covers done. And so as I've been going to various shows, I've been connecting, especially with some of the smaller artists. I don't care necessarily about super big name artists. If they're great, if I can get them, but a lot of them are just really expensive. But there's a lot of great artists out there that are doing small stuff, independent stuff, or have done a few things on some of the big name books, and they do some great work that you can get stuff really inexpensively. And one of my favorites that I got done recently, I was at a little itty bitty show called East Bay Comic Con, done in a hotel, essentially, and I ran into a gentleman there that was mostly does art restoration,
Mhm.
but he also does some comic stuff. I started talking to him a little bit and found out that we both had a great love for sci-fi and classic retro sci-fi bubble helmets, Adam Strange,
Mhm.
whatnot. So I said, "Hey, I don't have a book with me, but can I send you a book? We do this." He's, "Yeah." So I sent him a copy of Strange Adventures as a blank, and he busted out for me
Oh
Oh
my
this
wow.
god.
impressive thing. But he when he was going to make it, because he said, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, I want Adam Strange. I'd kind of like a bubble helmet, maybe a jetpack." He's all, "No problem. I got it in my head. I know what I want to do." And then I got a message from him, says, "Dude, I got into a problem." I'm all, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, the image I want to do won't fit on the cover. Is it okay if I do a wraparound?"
Oh wow.
And I'm all, yeah.
You should have said no. That would have been really funny.
So yeah, so this was phenomenal, totally
Wow.
dug this. So that's getting ready to go off to
I haven't
CD.
actually seen a sketch cover where they actually fill in all the gaps. Like it's not just a blank,
Right.
White.
Yeah, this was, you could do a black and white, or you could pay more for color. And so I
Yeah,
pay
it's
this
beautiful.
particular one, I paid for full color because his price for this was $250.
Oh my
Wow,
god.
that's not bad.
No, not at all. So
Looks like
that
you
was
had a lot
super
of
stoked.
fun with that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, is like, I like talking to the artists and finding out what they like. And if I can find a match between what they like and I want, I don't give them free license to do what they want to do within it for the most
Mhm.
part. You're going to get some amazing results. So this was a gentleman that
Oh
I
wow.
was talking to, or it turns out he was like super into. I saw he had some Mars Attack stuff up on his booth. I dig Mars Attacks. I'm like, oh.
Hmm.
I started kind of talking about, hey, I got some of these Planet Comics blanks. I've always kind of thought about having a Mars Attacks, and his eyes lit up, like,
Oh wow.
basically almost begging me to let him do a Mars Attacks cover. And so I dropped it off with him, and a couple months later, he sent this back to me because he got some delays stuff, but just a beautiful Mars Attacks sketch cover.
Hmm.
The watercolor background is fantastic. The
Yeah,
smoke in
Yeah,
that,
it's
exactly.
really
it
really
just
nice.
adds to it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one. And at that same show, I ran into, again, another little independent artist. I was talking to him about, oh yeah, let's do some Spider-Man. I kind of like the villains. And he's like, oh, okay, what villain do you want? And I'm gonna go, whatever you want, except for the Green Goblin, because I already have a couple Green Goblins. And
Hmm.
he's like, oh, all right. So anybody? I'm like, yeah. He's all, okay, cool. And I was expecting to get a cover that had a villain head sketch or something. I had no idea that I would get a villain with a combat action with their hero.
Right.
Um, just an awesome Doc Ock.
That's a really great cover.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Wow.
awesome how the tentacles going across the trade dress as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and down here too, he covered it
Yeah.
up. And yeah,
Yeah, it's really great.
the only oddity here is Doc Ock has 5 arms,
Oh well.
but
Maybe
yeah.
You
lost
just
one.
ruined it for me, Rob.
So I'll show one last non-slab book that's getting ready to go off. This one's not a sketch cover though. This is just my love for the bubble helmets and ray guns and science fiction. Some Dell 4-color 512. I'm working on all the 4-color Flash Gordons.
Hmm.
I got like 3 left, but just I love this cover.
That's a really great cover. I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah, it's not as big of the ones that you normally see.
Hmm.
But still, it's a great cover.
Mm,
So
wow.
bubble helmets for life.
Wow, that's really great. So wow, those are pretty cool books. Like very different than what I would have expected you to show. Strange, it's very...
Well, I have a bunch of slabs too, but I mean, I just decided I'd start off with that.
Okay. So Chris, do you want to show some more?
Sure. So, like Rob, when I got back into comic collecting around 2012, 2013, I really was intrigued by blank covers. Like, what's this all about? And then start to find out, oh, well, when you go to conventions, you can have artists draw on them and pay a commission fee. And right away, I went to Todd McFarlane, Arthur Adams, John Byrne, realizing like, no, that's out of the realm of possibility. Now, Arthur Adams does do sketches, but you have to contact him privately, kind of thing, and blah blah blah. And I can't afford Arthur Adams stuff, but I did meet him a couple times. And long story short, I did get into getting sketch covers done like Rob. And the very first sketch cover I ever got done was by superstar artist Ken Lashley. Now, Ken Lashley at the time was working exclusively for DC, but DC had hired him to do, as a portion of the New 52, they were redoing the Doomsday Saga, and they were relaunching that, and they were calling it Doomed. And Doomed was a book that he actually was doing the interior artwork for, as well as covers. And it went to Niagara Falls Comic Con with my son, and there was a little bit of a short line for Ken. And from what I understood is that all you have to do is put down X amount of dollars, and Ken will give you a sketch based off what you put down. So you could put down $500 and get a Monet, or you can put down $80 and get something less. So because there was a little bit of a line, and every so often he would say, if anyone's here for a signature, just come on up, and he'd give a free autograph, whatever. And it was during this time that, because I can't shut my mouth for very long, we started talking football. And I got to find out that Ken Lashley was actually offered a scholarship to go to Syracuse and to become a football player for the Orange. And things didn't work out necessarily, and he got back into artwork, and now he's a famous cover artist at this point now. And but it was that love of football that we both enjoy, finding out that he's a Saints fan and I'm being a Bills fan. And later on, every time that we cross paths, which is a lot, we always would talk football while everyone else would want to talk comics. So he, from my perspective, enjoyed the fact that he wasn't just talking shop when I happened to be there. And he invited me a few times on the other side of the table to sit down with him and just watch him sketch. And it would be the same thing with my son. And it was a real good time getting to know him and his family and his children, and watching him work and finding out his true passions for comics is Star Wars and the mutants. And Black Panther. He loves Black Panther. He loves the X-Men and the mutant world, and Star Wars because he's been to Skywalker Ranch and done numerous works and action figure work for George Lucas, that he still holds Star Wars in high regard. Now, I've had Ken do numerous sketches for me at this point, but this is the first. This is Superman Doomed from DC Comics, where you can see Doomsday hauling off and cracking Superman in the side of the head and breaking skin, and we got some color happening, and Superman's hand is up in the air, like it's just kind of like he's getting hit so hard he's falling over. And like Rob, Ken said, well, I want to do a little bit more with this cover. And he goes, I kind of feel bad for making you and your son wait, but I'm thankful for the fact that you guys been talking football with me and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the back as well. So here we have Doomsday just laying into Superman. So if the book wasn't slabbed, you'd actually get to see the full gatefold open. But yeah, so this is Doomsday hauling off and giving Superman that mean straight left hook, or that or cross, I should say, and catching him in the side of the head. And yeah, it's cool to have a sketch cover done by the artist who actually does the artwork on the inside of the book. And this is something that I'm very, very proud of. That this book is a Charles Soule story, but the interior artwork is done by Ken Lashley, and that he actually went ahead and did both Doomsday and Superman on the cover. And this is 2014. So this book is 9 years old at this point now. And yeah, it just go and reason why I wanted to talk about this book, it just shows that with the artists, like Rob was talking about, just that a few moments where you're conversing with them, you can develop relationships with them that can turn into friendships. Because now I can honestly say that Ken Lashley and I sometimes text and talk football during the season, and it's away from comic books and it's away from everything else. And it's a fun relationship that I have with Ken and his wife and his family. And the other two books I'm going to show are books that are special as well. And this is a book that I decided to get done a while ago. Pardon me, that I have both Stan Lee and Jerry Conway on. And this is my birthday book. This is my birthday book for The Amazing Spider-Man. This is the book that came out in September 1974, the same year that I came out. And I decided that I thought I would want to get my birthday book done. And back in 2015, and then again September 2016, I had Jerry Conway and Stan Lee sign this book. And now John Romita Sr., who I thought about getting signed, having do this as well, just because of how important he is to the history of Spider-Man. I actually didn't touch this book in particular. However, if somehow he were to cross over and do signings with CGC, this is the book I'd probably have him sign as well, or maybe ASM 37. But I believe he's working with a company that does work with CBCS. Now, Dave Hunt and Ross Andrew and Frank Giacola are responsible for the cover and the interior artwork. But yeah, I know some collectors are collecting birthday books for their favorite characters. And this is a book that I picked up quite a while ago and I've held on to. Now, Alan, when you and I spoke previously, I said that I'm back in the idea of possibly getting some other birthday books done, i.e. Superman or Batman or the Fantastic Four. And but the one book I want to talk about right now is from John Romita Sr. It's one of my favorite covers of all time when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man. And again, it has that tie into the Green Goblin, but it's this one, the death of the Green Goblin, the issue after Gwen passes away from the top of what I believe is the Brooklyn Bridge, or is it the Washington Bridge? Either way, it escapes me right now. But again, this is a book that I picked up at my my LCS, Retro Rocket Comics, and it gave me a fantastic price because I always haggle the hell out of everyone I buy a book from. And we met at a very fair price. And this is now just, again, a cornerstone piece of my collection that I am very, very proud of. The death of the Green Goblin to me is almost secondary. I know that this is a key. It's just I love this cover so much, where you just see Spider-Man rarely in pure anger, and that's what we have here on this cover is Spider-Man in true anger. And normally he's that sarcastic one where he's either getting beaten up or that rare time where he's actually winning, but you never see the side of Spider-Man where he's just in agony, which is bringing on this anger. And yeah, it's just a fun book. And yeah, the fact that the blues and everything, it just works so well. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
So, wow, that was,
yeah.
So Rob, you got to top that. I don't know. That's some pretty great stuff. We're going to see. Let's see what Rob can do here.
This is just a recent pickup. I thought it was beautiful. A beautiful book. that came out a few years ago
Wow.
in
Wow.
1944. Yep, Wow Comics, timely given with Shazam and everything else. Mary Marvel, just the such a classic beauty. All the time that they drew Mary Marvel back then
Mhm.
was always just, there was nothing overly sexualized about her or anything
Mhm.
else, but just a classic beauty and
Mhm.
just gorgeous. Obviously, this book has some issues, has some slightly brittle pages. You can even see some of the covers already flaked off inside the slab,
Mhm.
but it presents just so darn well. Um,
Mhm.
that I was really excited that I was able to pick this book up for all of like $60. Uh,
Wow, that's so cheap. That is that's really
yeah,
nice.
and add that to the collection. And of course, the ever running on the back is the Baby Ruth bars back then. Rich and dexterous, baby. Um, uh, yeah, also another recent pickup, which was I was blown away to pick this book up. Also from the Golden Age / Atomic Age. Uh, I'm in addition to my Amazing Spider-Man run, I'm working on a Mystery in Space run, this is Mystery in Space issue 2. So this was a book I picked up raw. It has a sub crease in it, which actually they managed to get most of that sub crease out. It's very faint.
Can't see it.
Most of the issues with it are really the cover issues there, and there's a chunk missing out of the cover here.
Mhm.
But of course, the other quintessential Golden Age ad is for us to go get our kids armed and start training them to go shoot anything.
Mhm.
But just not only to have issue 2, because issue 1 is super. I mean, the difference between issue 1 and number 2, mind numbing in price difference.
Yeah.
Um, but this is still just a great to get such a great looking early copy of a book, and I love this cover. Again, bubble helmets and stuff.
And
I
good
love this.
girl.
Yeah, I love this concept that you need a bubble helmet to breathe, but there's no, the
Your skin
plunging
is fine.
plunging neckline, wearing a dress. So obviously that waist must be air. I don't know, must be air. I don't. But that's kind of fun stuff. Um, I won't linger on this one much, but this is another one of those Flash Gordons. This one with a
Mhm.
wraparound cover.
Yeah, those isn't that Williamson? Alan Williamson?
This is Paul Norris.
Paul Norris. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that's a fun one. Recently liberated from Australia.
Oh, wow.
Space adventures there. The Blue Beetle, the original Blue Beetle.
Nice.
And I got 2 more books that I'll show. If we go back, Chris, this is more of what Chris. So we go into the Silver Age, right? So I've been working on my Spider-Man run. My goal was to get 1 through 100 slab. This year, I said, okay, I'm going to add one. I was down to like $12 left. So this year was like, okay, I'm going to go get one of those remaining 12, because it was, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 13, 14, 15, which are almost all first appearances, with the exception of like 5. Um,
And 10.
well, I already had 10. So
Right.
that's a, yeah.
Mhm.
So anyways, I went to Comic Book Show here in Berkeley, California, which is a great old school comic show. At the end of the day, I'm going around and I get to this guy's bin. He's got a bunch of business, 20% off Silver Age books. All right. Flipping through the bin, find he's got some ASMs in there. And lo and behold, there's an ASM 15 in the bin.
Wow.
And it's rough. But that's never stopped me from getting a book, especially a really big book,
Mhm.
because I'm not necessarily. I've come to grips that my major keys are not going to be high grades if I want to stay married.
Mhm.
So he had a tag on it, and I did the math on his price because he had it tagged like at $300, and I knew the math. I'm all, okay, so we're talking like $250,
Mhm.
whatever. And I'm like, I'll do a quick look at my calculate my machine. Okay, as long as it's even if it's a 0.5, I'm
Mhm.
below FMV. So we
Wow.
pick it up. sent it into CGC. It was in such rough shape. I didn't even have them press it. There was no, or have anybody press it or anything, because it was just, it wasn't going to help. Matter of fact, it was just more like it hurt. And it's come back. And of course, yes, I mean, you'll see right away, the spine is obliterated on this book.
But it's still a 1.5.
It's still a 1.5 because it's complete. So you got all the corners are rough. We have the spine is obliterated and blown out.
Wow.
You even got a piece of this is completely loose in here, but we have the piece, right? Obviously, the page wrap is a little because that page is falling off, but it's a 1.5. The image still comes across well enough that I can sit there and say, hey, for $250, I picked up Amazing Spider-Man 15.
Nice.
Craven, baby.
Is it still
Craven.
attached to the cover? I mean, it looks.
I thought it was. I think they marked it as completely detached. If it's attached at all anymore, it's like at a staple. I have a feeling that them getting it out of the Mylar may have done some damage. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't have helped it much because the spine was, even if it was attached at one of the staples at one point, it was still so split and tore up here that it's, it wouldn't have gotten a 2.0, and I was fine. I was expecting it to come back a 0.5, so to come back a 1.5,
that's great. Yeah,
it makes it huge. And in the last book, I picked this. Again, it was like this year. Well, I guess actually there's two. I guess the next Berkeley comic show I picked up this one, ASM 14.
That's a big book.
Yeah, it was, and it was one where I ended up talking to the guy, and I was walking away, and he came down to a price that I was at, and ended up getting like 25% off his asking price to pay him, and it had to pay him like part PayPal and part Zelle in order to get it because I only had money in certain spots, but we worked out. But so then that was made 2 books. And then most recently, I ended up walking away with a 3rd book that I needed.
Oh, wow.
In ASM number 5, the one that was the only one. It wasn't the first appearance, but his first appearance outside of Fantastic Four. We get Dr. Doom. Because I had
a book I'm still chasing, actually.
Yeah, this one was a book I saw. I found this one actually up on eBay. I was looking at it. I was looking for ASM 13. And then I found a shop that had one, and I was interested. And then I'll do what I do sometimes, where I click on that shop and see what else they have listed.
Yeah.
And then I found that they had this there too, and they were about the same price that they were asking for them. Obviously, the grade the 13 was a 2.5. This was a 1.8. But I'm sitting there going to myself, I said, dude, I looked them up. The price they were asking was right at FMV. On eBay, right? Their eBay price was FMV.
Usually eBay prices are way above.
Or actually, maybe it was slightly over, but after a short, I think within 24 hours of me putting it on my watch list, they pinged me with an offer that brought it down to FMV. At which point I just said, okay, I'm taking it, because between Mysterio and Doom, I think Doom is still on the rise right now, whereas Mysterio, having been kind of done in MCU, that book may continue to trend down a little bit more, or at least stay where it's at. So I'm picking up Doom, pick that one off of my collection. So now all of a sudden I've picked up 3 books this year when I only intended to get 1, and there's actually a 4th that's on the way. So,
oh, wow.
So so I'm super pumped. I pick up some great old Silver Spider-Man, and I mean, I'm not Chris yet, who's already finished this run.
I guess I don't have to show that or my copies. Then I'll put these over here and show something different. Then
thanks for that, Rob. Like an ASM 1 or something,
Yeah,
that was last week.
That was last week. So actually, I'd love you guys to show a lot more books, but it's like we've been talking for like an hour now. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 sometime later. But before I let you guys go, I just want to quickly not only promote your channel, but promote one of the causes that Only Slabs is doing. Can you just quickly, kind of sum up?
Yeah, sure. So on my channel, Rob's Fat Stacks on YouTube. There, everything that I do on that channel, 100% of the revenue that's generated, whether it's ad revenue, the membership, the super chats, the thank you, super thanks stickers, the merchandise sales from the merch store, all of those proceeds that come to me get donated to Comics Curing Cancer. Comics Curing Cancer was the brainchild, actually, of Cardboard Crazies. A couple of years ago, he partnered up with the American, or decided he was going to do this fundraiser for the American Cancer Society because he had some family member recently had dealt with some cancer, and he did it on his own. And then he ended up raising like $8,000 during this 24-hour marathon.
Wow.
And the American Cancer Society said, "Oh, hey, wow, that was really cool. Let's make this an official campaign." And so they created this whole official campaign. But in last year, Chris was his wife was pregnant, and they had a newborn on the way, and he was hyper focused on that and wasn't able to run up with that. And a lot of people started asking me if I knew what was going on, mostly because at that point in time I had kind of started to be working with a comic book presser who was heavily featured in on the Comics Curing Cancer show. And it turns out his wife actually works for the American Cancer Society and is the one who brought this whole thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And just through end up talking to him, next thing you know, I was kind of spearheading the event in place of Chris. And last year, through our efforts, partnering up with other channels to kind of spread the message and do a 3-day event that wasn't 24 hours, we ended up raising just under $23,000, which
That's so
blew my
crazy.
mind. It
That's
blew
so
my
good.
mind. I mean, literally, I thought we'd be lucky. I was nervous going into it. Would we even clear the 8? Because 8's a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And after the first day we were done, we had cleared that hurdle. I was like, okay, everything else is all gravy. And the fact that we then hit 22, I think it was like 22,400 or something like that.
Wow.
That was just insane. And so this year, we're doing it again, and we're putting that benchmark at 25,000, hopefully, to start with. And I just decided when I got to that monetization stage in YouTube, because for the longest time I had said I'm not going to monetize, and people had kind of questioned, well, why would you let YouTube just take that money then? And I was like, well, I don't really need the $10 or whatever it is a month I'm going to get, or $3 in advertising revenue, or whatever it is. It's even less than that, by the way, people.
It's not much.
Yeah, right. So, but you know what? I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'll monetize, but I'm going to make everything go to Comics Curing Cancer.
Yep, that's
and
good.
So I do. And right now, most of the revenue comes from channel membership that we get in the super chats. And I made, the channel membership is super cheap. I made it $2.99 because I didn't care. Again, I just want to get more people to do it rather than
And it's monthly money going to the cause.
Right,
That's
exactly.
great.
People have responded well to it. They go, $2.99 is not a lot, and they know that it's going to cancer research and cancer prevention and everything else. So they're happy with it. And so each month so far, we've raised about $150 to $160 between the memberships and the super chats stuff, and that comes in. And as soon as I get that check or that deposit from YouTube,
Yep.
I immediately go right over to the Cancer Society website and deposit it in there, post an update on the members forum on the channel so everybody knows what we've done, and get it out there. So yeah, we're super excited about that, and I hope that anybody who comes to watch an episode of Only Slabs, even if you don't become a channel member, drop a super chat in there, or if you watch an old video, drop a super thanks, and know that money is going to Comics Curing Cancer and the American Cancer Society.
Nice. Very great.
Thank you very much, Alan.
So yeah, again, for all people watching this, check out the Comic Vet, and check out Rob's Fat Stacks, and check out Only Slabs. It's on
Saturdays, every
Saturday
at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern.
Award-winning.
That's right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, show both. Yeah, that's great.
Very proud of these.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they actually glow and like light
Yeah,
up
they
and
change
stuff like that.
colors.
It's really
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a phenomenal little design for a
Yeah.
little thing. I think that kind of helped that he got some sponsors to help
Yeah, that's
cover the
really
cost of those, because I'm sure even though they're I've got to imagine that these are still
yeah,
probably at least, well, they're engraved and stuff too, so they've got
yeah,
to cost
couple,
30,
like
40
30, yeah, 30
minimum
to
30 to
40
40
bucks.
bucks a
Yeah,
piece, if not more. So
yeah, that's nice. I gotta win one of those. Okay, but
nominations are coming up, guys, for the
Yeah,
Comic
in
Book
May.
Community Awards. Check out cbca.org and you can nominate the Comic Collector Geek for
nice.
his for an award.
Cool. So again, thanks both of you for coming on the show, and I will link to everything. Like, there's so many things to link to, but I will link to it all in the description. Just go over there, check it out. It's great. They have some really awesome interviews. Again, thanks, guys.
Oh no, thank you.
Well,
And
thank you.
you're always welcome. Come on back again. We love
Okay,
having you.
we'll have a part 3. Okay, bye for
Phenomenal.
now.